Hey there guys, it's Metro, and today we're back with yet another video about another DK tanking topic that's been brought up a lot on the stream. This time I'm going to be talking about all the dungeons, why we might want to do them for Mythic Plus, and I'm also going to give you a breakdown, kind of like a tier list about which dungeons you should try to focus on as a Blood Death Knight. So we're going to go through every single dungeon. I'm going to tell you how many items there are that you might want as a best in slot type item, an item that you definitely want, and then an item that you might want. And we'll summarize that, and then we'll also talk about how many items there are total in the dungeon, which is obviously another thing to be considering. Okay, so we're going to go through every dungeon, and then at the end we'll kind of give a tier list. I'll be telling you exactly which dungeons I'll be focusing on. Like if you watched in Legion, you'll know that I focused on a couple, 3 or 4, and that was what I farmed all the time. So Atal'Dazar has some really good pieces. Obviously, hopefully everybody knows the Haste trinket, which I think a lot of people would consider a very, 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 very good trinket, something that you want to get your hands on. Also has pants that have high haste, so I assume that's, you know, probably the best pants we could possibly get. And obviously from Atal'Dazar as well, we have a ring which has low haste but high verse, so a pretty good ring. It's difficult to say exactly, you know, what a best in slot ring might look like, but when you see a haste verse ring, it's always going to be something you're going to want. So there's 3 items like that. Then there's also 2 more haste mastery hands, not bad at all, and haste mastery cloak, not bad at all. So if you're looking for haste, you might find 5 items from Atal'Dazar out of a possible 7, so a very good percentage there. We have Freehold as well, which has the haste verse, high haste weapon, which is definitely the best in slot weapon from 5-mans, at least for tanking. Obviously, we'll talk about King's Rest in a bit, but a very, very good weapon. We also have best in slot hands, haste verse, very good piece there, and best waist as well, haste verse. Very good stats, high haste there as well. So 3 really desirable pieces. And then we also have an incredibly high haste ring. That is a lot of haste on that ring. It has crit, which I really do like, especially for 5-mans. So yeah, it could be considered a 4th best piece, but we'll just say this is a good piece for now since it has crit instead of verse. And then we also have, what's that? Haste legs as well. So yeah, there we go. Haste mastery. So not the best legs, but still about 5 items out of a possible 7 from Freehold. So a very, very good target for Freehold. Then we have King's Rest, which has the best in slot DPS weapon. This weapon does a lot more damage than any other weapon in the game, but it does not have any secondary stats on it. So this is actually not very good for, you know, survival, even though, you know, the heal, yeah, it's okay, but it's not really going to happen very much in raid. So not a great survival weapon, but very, very good for 5-mans. We also have, let's see, from King's Rest, oh yeah, we also have an incredibly good ring. Very high haste, yet another really high haste ring, and it has verse this time. So this is definitely a BIS ring. So 2 stellar items that you're definitely going to want to get your hands on. But we also have a pretty decent pair of wrists, haste crit wrists. And we also have a belt, let's see, haste mastery belt, which is good high haste. And we also have this trinket, which I don't want to write off. It doesn't look very good to me on paper, but you never know. Maybe it's going to have some value. So any type of trinket is always going to be something you want to think about in dungeons. So that's potentially 5 items of a possible 8, but 2 of those items are extremely, extremely good, especially for 5-mans when you think about the weapon. Then we have Shrine of the Storm. Let's take a look. Shrine of the Storm has very, very good hands. Haste verse, high haste hands, very good. We also have boots as well. Haste verse boots, higher verse, so that's decent. And then we have a trinket, which, you know, a lot of you guys were trying to sell me on. I've been using it. It doesn't do very much damage, honestly, but yeah, I guess in some situations it might be pretty good. So again, a trinket always worth considering. So those are 3 very desirable items. But we also have high haste crit waist, so that's very good too. So really 4 pretty desirable items from Shrine of the Storm out of a total of 7. So not bad at all. And then we have Siege of Boralus, which has 2 weapons, okay? These are not very good, though. Crit Verse and Crit Mastery, not good at all. Honestly, I would not recommend using them. And the fact that you could only wear 1 weapon kind of makes the dungeon a little bit less desirable because of that. But we also, the most notable thing we have in here is actually this ring. Pretty good haste crit ring. I'm actually using this right now. It's all right. It's got high crit, but it does have a lot of haste. And yeah, it's not a bad item at all. But what is most notable about this dungeon is that there is really no one item that you really want to get out of it. So even though, you know, you have 4 possible, 2 of them are weapons, so you can't double up on those. So really, there's only 3 items out of a possible 8 in Siege of Boralus, and none of them are particularly good. So that's not great for Siege of Boralus, unfortunately. Temple of Seth has a very good wrist item. Where's that gone? Very good wrist item. Haste verse, so it's got good stat spread but low haste, so not super duper, but still a very good wrist item. And it has this this trinket that a lot of people, especially on the stream, have been telling me does a lot of damage. So I haven't tried it yet since it's been buffed. A lot of changes with it since the beta, so I need to test it again. But yeah, if that trinket ends up being something that you really want to get, then this is be 2 very desirable items from this dungeon. And then we also have haste hands. Let's see, yeah, haste mastery hands. So this is a high haste item, so not bad either. So that means 3 items total from Seth, which has a total of 7 items altogether. Then we have Motherlode, which has 1 trinket. Very, 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 very good trinket. I would definitely recommend getting this trinket, guys. I think this might be the best trinket in the game for 5-man DPS. Yes, I know it splits, but the fact that it does very good damage on single target and AoE is absolutely insane. And as you see, I have a 355 version of that, so that's great. Now it also has this dungeon doesn't have a lot of great items, but it has a lot of very good items. Haste Mastery Ring, which is definitely nothing to sneeze at. Haste boots, low haste, so not terrible. Haste wrists as well, higher haste. Haste mastery. Haste cloak as well, higher haste, so that's not bad at all. And then we have a haste weapon, but it's haste mastery, so obviously not as good as the one from, and it's also low haste too, obviously not as good as the one from Freehold. But Motherlode really has 6 desirable items out of a total of 8, so that's not bad at all. Then we have Underrot next. Underrot has, we talked about this in the Azerite pieces, but unfortunately Azerite is not from Mythic completion, so you're not really going to be able to worry about that. Underrot has a couple good trinkets, honestly. Really, these 2 good trinkets. I mean, we've talked about this. This is a high amount of strength, but I just don't really like versatility on trinkets. And then we talked about the upsides of Lingering Spore Pods. I think it's very good for AoE survival. It's not, whatever. It's not going to be the best trinket outright, probably just because we're going to focus a lot more on defense. But this is a good trinket overall, so 2 very desirable items in that. And then we also have very good, best in slot, I'd say, boots, haste versatility, boots, high haste. So 3 very desirable items from Underrot. And then we also have, let's see, a ring, high haste ring. Again, 215 haste, not bad at all. That's on a 340 version, of course. And then haste legs as well, haste crit, so another good pair of legs. And then we do have a weapon, which I think is probably the worst weapon. I don't know, low versatility, high mastery. No, probably not using that. Plus the transmog is terrible. But anyway, yeah, so that is, what's that, 6 desirable items, 6 good items out of a total of 9 from Underrot. And then we have Atal'Dazar, which will be very notable for Jess's Howler. I think this is the best trinket in the game right now from 5-mans. Absolutely very, very, very good all-around trinket. It checks all the boxes, as we talked about in our trinket discussion video. And the good thing about that is it is one of 6 items that you can get from Atal'Dazar, guys. There's only 6 items. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the cloak, okay? The problem is that's the only really good piece. There's not another piece with haste in the dungeon. And yeah, not a lot of good verse pieces either, as you see. Low verse, high verse, mastery ring. We just don't want that. There's too many good rings out there. So Atal'Dazar is in a weird spot, right? Because it has arguably the best trinket in the game, if not without question the best trinket in the game. But it's only 1 of 6 items, and the other 5 of those are very bad. So I think the fact that that only has 6 items and 1 of them is great, I think Atal'Dazar should definitely be something you should consider. We'll talk about that in a bit. But anyway, Waycrest Manor finally. This dungeon has 9 items that you can get, so that's actually tied for the second most, and it doesn't really have a lot of great items. So we got BIS belt. Okay, we got haste first, but it's got BIS stats on it, that is, but not the best belt that we can get. Haste verse ring, so that's a pretty good ring, but again, very low haste compared to the verse, so it's a good ring. So those are 2 really semi-desirable items, not in great shape, but anyway. Crit trinket as well. This trinket, I don't really know. I'm not really sure what to think about this trinket. I don't think this is very good, but again, it is still a trinket. We have haste wrists as well. Let's see. Haste, but low haste and mastery, so not great. And then we have a cloak with haste as well. Again, low haste and crit, so kind of just worse than other cloaks in the game. So realistically, there's 6 items from a possible 9. but yeah, none of them are really that great. So now we're going to go through all the dungeons, and I'm going to tell you which ones I'm going to be focused on, and hopefully give you guys a little bit of a focus for yourself, okay? So as a tier list, if we were to break it down this way, tier 1, number one overall would be Freehold, all right? Freehold has the best spread of items in the game, without question. Best in slot tanking weapon, very, 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 very good hands and waist, and an extremely high haste and crit ring, which I think is better than a lot of people might want to say it is. And then it also, you have haste legs. So 5 out of 7 items, and pretty much 4 of them are going to be among the best items in the game from 5-mans. So Freehold, I think, will be my new Archway. If you guys watched me in Legion, you would have seen that I basically did about probably double Archway. Every other key put together times 2 was probably how many Archways I did. And that was in chase of a couple relics and a couple trinkets and stuff like that. So anyway, Freehold is going to be that new one there for us there. I would say number 1 overall. Number 2 overall, I would say, is Atal'Dazar. Some very, very good items in there. Very great trinket, really. Some amazing pants, a very good ring, some good hands, and cloak as well. Not the best hands and cloak, but still, you know, they got haste on them, and that's going to be very valuable. And, of course, we got to keep this in mind, too. Atal'Dazar, one of the easiest dungeons in the game. So when we're talking about doing dungeons, we're not just talking about which ones give the best rewards. We're also talking about which ones might be the easiest to pug to do regularly, right? Because you're not going to be able to just form groups. Somebody has to have a keystone. Atal'Dazar is going to be a great number 2. And then number 3, I would say, is King's Rest. Obviously, hopefully everybody understands why. Has 2 of the best items in the game. One of them being a weapon, which is absolutely invaluable. And yeah, realistically, that weapon is going to absolutely dominate 5-mans. If you can get a high item level version of it, I would say that weapon is great. Now, the problem with King's Rest is there's got a couple good items, and that trinket is questionable. I don't know. If that trinket ends up being good, maybe we could talk more about it. But realistically, it's number 3 for a reason. It's only really got 2 great items, and then, you know, 2 or 3 other decent items. And that is out of a total of 8. So, yeah, not a huge spread. It's going to be difficult to get this weapon, but when you finally do, you're going to absolutely love that you have it. Next up, I would say, is Motherlode. Motherlode is unique in that it has probably the best 5-man trinket in the game just because of how much damage it does. Does nothing defensively, though. And, of course, really good spread of 5 other items that are also, you know, pretty good for Mythic Plus. And I think Motherlode is a pretty easy dungeon. I think it has some of the easiest bosses in the game. The trash can be finicky, but realistically, I don't think Motherlode is going to cause you many problems. And it's right in the city, so that's not bad either. So I would say that's number 4 overall. Number 5 overall, I would say, is Shrine of the Storm. I think this is a very approachable dungeon. The trash and the bosses in here can be pretty difficult, but the rewards are commensurate to the difficulty, if you ask me. Very, very good hands, very good boots, and that trinket's not bad either, I guess, for 5-mans, and then a haste belt as well. So that is a good spread out of a total of 7 total items. Shrine of the Storm, I think, you know, it's one of those dungeons, too, where Death Knight can really be beneficial. I think Blood DK is really going to shine in Shrine. You get it? Anyway, so we got Underrot next as well. I'd say Underrot is the next dungeon, and really, you know, a good spread of items. Nothing huge. The trinkets are okay. The boots are pretty good. You know, it does have a weapon. You never know. Maybe you'll get lucky. You can't Titan Forge, but you never know. Maybe it'll be good for you. And it's got a pretty high haste ring, some legs, and then the weapon, obviously. So, but the thing with Underrot is it's got 9 items, so it's going to be difficult to get that one you really want. And then finally, for that tier, I would say Dagor, finishing off tier 2. Dagor. Dagor has the best trinket in the game, if you ask me, for 5-mans. It's very, very valuable. And obviously, there's only 6 items. So that means you have a very high chance in getting the item that you want. So Dagor finishing off tier 2, just because it's not, you know, there's not a lot of good items in there, obviously. But that one that you really want has a pretty high % chance to get it. Then tier 3, I would just say Waycrest and Temple, you know, whatever. I'm never really going to do these dungeons. Waycrest is a mess. I absolutely despise it on, you know, these affixes, the week we currently have. That is Sanguine. Okay, I really despise it. And Necrotic too, if you do it on a 7. Not fun at all. These combinations are really bad. There's a lot of high volume trash that's really contained in very small areas. And then Temple of Seth, I really dislike the dungeon. I hate how much time you're going to be spending in non-combat danger. It's really crazy how many people die or fail to these non-combat situations in there. And the last boss is just absolutely ridiculous. It's like a 5-minute fight. It's going to be even longer on higher keys, I'd imagine. And of course, the third boss probably is one of the hardest bosses in the game. If you make a single mistake, you're probably just going to get killed immediately. So yeah, that's a dungeon I'm probably never going to do. But finally, Tier 4, last overall. The only one in Tier 4 is Siege of Boralus. The dungeon has nothing in it. You don't really need any gear from it. I don't mind the dungeon. I quite like the aesthetics of it. I quite like the idea of it. But there's basically no gear. You know, 2 of the items are weapons, and they're both really bad weapons. So realistically, I don't think I will ever do Siege of Boralus. I'd have to be I'd have to be forced into it, or somebody wants to, you know, my help with it or something like that. So yeah, Tier 1, Freehold, Atal'Dazar, and King's Rest. These are the dungeons you're going to see me do a lot on stream, and I would heavily recommend you guys do these 3 dungeons. They have just those 3 dungeons alone. If you farm those all day, you know, whatever you do, Mythic Plus, however much time you have, you're going to get a lot of very, very, very good gear from that. But Motherlode, Shrine, Underrot have some very good gear as well. And dagor probably has the best all-around trinket. So anyway, that's pretty much everything. If you guys have any questions or you want to talk about anything, let me know. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we will see you guys in the next one.